Module 1, Section 5, Objective 8. And it says to identify and apply the multiplication property of 0. So, what happens when you multiply by 0? You get 0, right? No matter when. 0 times anything is 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So the multiplication property of 0 means you will always get 0. Okay? So, A represents any number, times 0 is 0, and 0 times any number is 0. So just writing in any example you choose, 3 times 0 is 0, 0 times 3 is 0. Okay, filling in the blanks down here, 31 times 0 is 0. What number times 76 is 0? 0. Over on our side, this is pretty simple, right? Flipping the equation around, though, what is equal to 0 times 24? That's 0. 53 times what gives you 0? 0. All right. Identify each as commutative associative identity property or the multiplicative property of 0 or none. Okay, your packet has some writing on here that I deleted because I just want to start from the beginning. Okay, so A, if you're comparing the left with the right, 2, 7, 8, 2, 7, 8, and we're multiplying. So the difference between the two is that the parentheses moved, right? Here's the 2 and the 7, here's the 7 and the 8. So moving the parentheses around is regrouping, which is the associative property. So the associative property of this case, it is of multiplication. Because there's an associative property of addition too, isn't there? Okay, this last one on this column, anything times 1 gives you what you started with. So that is the multiplicative identity. Okay, or the multiplicative identity property, or the identity property of multiply. Either way, you have to specify if it's add or multiply, but because this chapter is only multiply, that's why they're not having you do that. Okay, and C, what number, or 42 times 0 equals 0. That's the multiplicative property of 0, right? So multiplying by 0. And then the last one here, 6 times 9 is equal to 9 times 6. So you've changed the order, haven't you? So when you change the order, that is the commutative property. Commutative property, and in this case, it's of multiply. But again, since this is a multiply chapter, they're not having you specify that completely. Okay, on this page, you write an example of each of those. So just the opposite of the last page. Okay, so A, the identity property of multiplication. So we start with a number. We want to times it by 1 to end up with what we started with. So 25 times 1 equals 25. Okay, commutative property. I'm just going to stick with 25s here. So 25 times 3 is equal to, commutative means you change the order, so it's 3 times 25. Okay, the associative property, that's where you change the parentheses around. So let's say I had 25 and 3 in parentheses, and then I wanted to times that by 10. You could go instead 25 times, and then 3 and 10 in parentheses. So it's the same numbers in the same order, multiplying, and then you move the parentheses around. Okay, last one, the multiplicative property of 0. So anything times 0 is going to give you 0.